Welcome, Wargamers, to another Mid-Sussex Wargames videos. Today we are doing a review of the Knots GT that was run in Epping by Joshua Triffitt, and very heavily assisted by Sam Page, who's also joining us today.
Hello.
You've got Chris there as well, who's painting away. What are you painting there, Chris?
From Star Wars Legion. At the moment, it is a 74Z speeder bike right now.
Cool, looking cool.
So off.
Not sure how well you guys can see that because the camera's a bit patchy, but yeah, definitely like what I've seen of Star Wars Legion. Well, I'm a big Star Wars fan anyway, so looking forward to trying to give that a go at some point.
Yeah.
Little talk about this was at the Scout Hut at Stonard Hill. It's been used as a venue for quite a while now, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's got to be one of the well, certainly oldest venues now. I think they've been running events for quite a few years.
I remember going there about 4 years.
Sorry, say that again, Chris. I'm not sure you came through.
Yeah, I remember going there about 4 years ago, I think, with Sam once upon a time. So yeah, it's been around a long time.
Yeah, at least 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and it definitely shows the level of terrain that the club's got there as well. It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, they've got some good stuff there.
That you're about to see, well, certainly the Rohan board I ended up on, and I think Chris also had a game on as well, which was pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't get up that high.
I am going to open up a screen share, and while I do that, why don't you guys talk about which armies you used?
Sure. Well, my armies were very simple. Oh, God, look at my hair. So for my evil lists, I took the big bad Smaug. There he is on screen, a photo kindly taken by Warhammer Community at a grand tournament a couple of years ago. Smaug is probably one of my pride and joys of the collection. For those who don't know, it's painted up by Andreas, the Norwegian Viking of STF Wargaming, and very rarely get a chance to use it. It usually just sits on top of the shelf in his box. So 700 points felt like a good excuse. A good excuse to bust out the Smaug, toast some models.
I suppose he's a bit difficult to fit into any other points. Certainly can't play it any lower, and anything higher, it's difficult to find something that complements him well.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit it's been a while since I played anything over 750. Purely because I think it's been that long. I remember when the GBHL first, kind of came into being, 1,000-point tournaments were the norm, and I was quite switched on then. But it's very exhausting to pay 1,000 points. So I don't think I would rush to do it again. But I would like to do it maybe one day with Smaug and 300 points of something else. I'd have to see what he can ally with. I doubt he's green allies with much.
I think he might be a yellow ally with a few things, but nothing green.
Yeah, I mean, he spends 60 years in a mountain, so I can't imagine he's too friendly with anybody.
And what about your good army? What did you
so for the good, I used my Grey Company. By Grey Company, I mean lots of heroes and a ranger. There's Smaug in action. There they are. So it was Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, Elladan, Elrohir, Halbarad, and a ranger, all with varying equipment, using the Grey Company Legendary Legion. So Aragorn got Thranduril for free. Because if you're using this force, why wouldn't you? You forego horses, but 9 times out of 10, you don't particularly need them.
I think I have seen one person take an Aragorn on horse rather than take a free Thranduril. I think that was at the Battle of Barad-dûr. I didn't get past that guy. Yeah. I think. Did you play against that, Chris?
Yeah, I did. And I think it did make a difference, actually. I don't think the horses. I think Sam's right. You were on the 40 points free rather than the 10th horse.
Yeah.
If a horse and Thranduril is obviously where you want to be, but I would always take winning on a 4+ because I think spoilers in this game against Sauron, having the Thranduril was much more valuable than having a horse. That was my armies.
With his might point every turn and being able to do a heroic march kind of negates the speed advantage.
Yeah, you end up you can go 9 inches a turn anyway, which is only an inch less than a horse. All right, you can't charge, but if you're heroic marching, you're probably not in a position to charge anyway.
I mean, obviously, if Aragorn's on horseback, he can go 15 a turn, but that's only of limited use if you can't have all your infantry keep up as well sometimes.
Yeah. Plus, the Grey Company, Legendary Legion, has the benefit that Aragorn is Aragorn's not a banner. Maybe it's just a Thranduril. But anyway, Halbrad's
is it woodland creature you get as well?
Yeah, I think it is woodland creature. Not really. Didn't really come into play here because not many people tend to have bunches of woods as scenery. They only tend to have clumps of trees, which then doesn't count as woodland. But yeah, a couple of handy bonuses. I think I only had 8 models in total across both my armies, 7 in the Grey Company and obviously 1 for Smaug. So numbers was always going to be a factor.
It was also really hard to win anything involved that needed you to spread out across the board, I'm guessing.
Yes.
But still, I imagine you had a lot of hitting power with all those rangers and elves and might.
Yeah, well, you're going to kill a lot, because you've got a large store of might you can burn, also you can snipe people with leggy. And Halbrad's banner keeps them going longer than they probably should, and it makes them all fearless. Which again, in this photo you can see for, I think it was my game 2, it's quite handy when everything in your opponent's army is terrifying.
So, moving on to Chris's army, what did you bring?
So for my good, I took Mirkwood. So the reason I wanted to take them was because I had Thranduril about 2 years ago, painted them up, was very excited to use them, and then never did it. So I thought, well, now's better time than ever. So I've got my list in front of me here. I had Thranduril on the elk, as you can see in the picture, with his additional blades, a circlet of kings, and heavy armor. So pretty much as tooled up as he can be. He had with him a palace guard with banner, shield, and spear. 2 palace guards with shield and spears, 6 elves with shield, 6 with glaive, and then also had Tariel, who's leading 6 Mirkwood Rangers, and then finally Leggy on horse with Orcrist, and 3 Mirkwood elves with additional bows. So yeah, 27 models, 9 shots in total, 9 might, Gary Thrandy. Thought it might be alright. Elves.
0.6 for your elves near Thranduril if they're palace guards?
The palace guards, become 0.6, and basically everything except for the heroes and the rangers in this list get +1 to wound if they're within 3 inches of him as well, which is pretty handy.
Yeah.
That is a army buff. And then I had, for my evil, Sam will recognise this army.
Yes. I think a lot of people will recognise this army if they had SBG issue 2. Apart from the symbol Azog and Azog, these were all Sam's at one point. Yes.
And I pretty much robbed him of them. I won't tell him that. I had Azog on the White Warg, as you can see. He was leading 1 Fell Warg, 8 Hunter Orcs, 4 had bow, 3 had 2-handed weapon. So trying to make use of the 50% bows in this army. 2 Hunter Orcs on Fell Warg, and then 1 Hunter Orc with a banner, which you can sort of see on the back left, holding a purple Gondorian banner, which Sam nicely converted. And then I had 3 identical warbands. So Fimble on Warg, he was leading 1 Fell Warg, 1 Hunter Orc on Fell Warg, and 4 Orcs, 2 of which had bow, 1 had 2-handed weapon. Then Yasneg with Warg and Lance leading exactly the same thing. Nazog on foot, again leading exactly the same thing. There's 34 models, quite a few more than the elves. 15 might.
Yeah, it's a lot to go up against.
It almost makes you want to start collecting Hunter Orcs again.
Funnily enough, I'm exactly the same. I picked up a bunch of Hunter Orcs and never got around to doing them, and I just can't ever really seem to work up the enthusiasm for them.
They were very hard models to paint. I must admit, there were lots of odd bone armor and bits that I just couldn't figure out what they were. So I think I ended up just throwing paint on them just to get them done.
Good. That's what I call them.
Oh, thank you. Don't zoom in too close.
So my own army. Unfortunately, I didn't get a massive picture of it, but you'll see the pictures of them in the battlefield. For my good army, it was all mounted Gondor.
Mm-hmm.
So Sam and Chris both over the years have respectively lent me some extra knights so that I can actually do this. At some point, I do actually need to finish painting up my own knights. But it was mounted Boromir with the Banner of Minas Tirith, mounted Faramir with sword and shield. Ideally, it would be nice to give him a lance at some point, but I just never got around to having a model with that configuration.
Well, just on that, Keiran, if you do need a Faramir model with a lance, I do have one converted.
Oh, cool.
If you ever need to borrow one, just let me know.
Yeah, nice one. And Baragond on horseback, who is my own conversion. With them, there were 15 Knights of Minas Tirith and something like 6 Citadel Guards on horseback with bows. Was it 6? May have been 8. I'll have to figure it out from the pictures. Sorry. It's been like almost a month.
Yeah, it was exactly a month ago. It was the first weekend of March.
So that was my good. All mounted Gondor. For my evil, it was the attackers at Helm's Deep, Legendary Legion, and for that list, I had something like 2 captains. One of which was the special captain with the +1 attack and +1 wound.
Mm-hmm.
And alongside him was another captain just with an axe and a Uruk-hai shaman without armor. And filling out their war bands were 12 crossbows, several pikes, several shields, and as many berserkers as I could fit in. No demolition charges, although I did have a couple in the case, but I have to admit I kind of ran out of time writing my list. I couldn't really work out what I wanted to take, and I was actually frantically adding berserker costs to crossbow costs about 3 minutes before the first game started. So in the end, I just kind of went, I can't be bothered to work it out. Let's just take a load of berserkers, a load of crossbows, and we'll leave the siege weapons and stuff like that at home.
Yeah.
I do hear that they're doing well. In fact, I think the winner of the GT had something like 2 ballistae and demolition charges in it.
Yeah, Jasmine's list had made full use of the siege equipment available. I think they are. Well, I think we touched on it in the last video. The siege engines are strong right now.
Well, I don't know. I think we spent so long not really taking them seriously that I think there's actually quite a lot of adjustment to have to recognize that they now represent.
Well, I also think now they come with the siege veteran. Or now they come with a hero that's got a might point. It just means at some point you've almost, they're a little bit more reliable, either to get that hit or to get that favourable scatter, or even to get that wound roll, or to be able to call a heroic shoot.
Yeah, whatever it is, now that they have the might point, you get that almost guaranteed that you might get one good hit, and if that good hit does enough damage, maybe that can win you a game.
Well, yeah, so you only need one good shot.
So, moving on to the tournament itself, this was 700 points, good and evil.
Four
seen
games.
our list already, but it was 4 games total. Nothing special in terms of it was all wins, then victory points, then leader kills, was it?
No, it was. So the tiebreakers were obviously wins, and then it was tournament points to do it properly, and then which way around it, and then I believe it was VP diff, and then it was VP scored.
Oh, okay. So it did matter how much
you won by, and how many you conceded,
Cool. So moving on, there was also the option to grudge match, and someone issued a grudge match against me before the draw was made.
Yep. Hello.
That was Sam grudge matched me, and I agreed to the grudge match before I knew that he was taking Smaug.
Yeah.
Which meant that my first game was a 50-50 of facing the dragon, and you guessed it.
No,
Smaug.
Yeah, so just to precurse this, I think we've had a couple of grudge matches at various tournaments over our friendship. And and
First
quite
one
often.
was pretty much the first year that we went to Nottingham at the same time.
Yeah, was it Seize the Prize?
That was the event that I hadn't actually planned to go to the GT. Was it the GT? No, it was Throne of Skulls.
Yeah, it was Throne of Skulls because you gave me grip for taking my Moria Harad friendship list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, but the night before this one, I turned up on Friday because I knew that all you guys would be there, and I was planning on just going home to Liverpool and having a weekend there for the weekend because the Throne of Skulls was sold out. And then I spoke to Simon Grant, who basically said, "No, we've had some returns. You can play if you want to."
Yeah.
And then had to pretty much because I hadn't brought enough models for me to have enough models to play in the tournament. So I basically did a pick and mix from like you, Owens, and Lewis's models to basically make an army that was up to 1,000 points.
Yeah, because it was two. It was 2 armies, 1,000 points. Good and evil, if memory serves me correctly. And yeah, I had a very fluffy Moria and Harad list where Durbers was friends with.
You had
Golden King, or was it?
Yeah, you had Bat Swarms. You had Watchers of
Gundabad.
Kana.
Yeah, Watchers of Kana.
Did you have any of the Bracken Guards?
Yeah, I had some of the Fat Boys. Yeah, it was a truly fluffy list.
My respect for you, Sam, has got down so far.
I mean, that indicates you had respect for me before, so I'll take that as positive.
It was minimal.
Yeah, so me and Keiran grudged each other, and across the years we've been playing, I don't think I'd ever won a grudge match, even when the scenario was favourable, the army matchup was favourable. There's just something about whenever I play Keiran, I guess you're just better than me.
I won't say no to that, but I think dice sometimes play a role.
Yeah,
I know you also played a grudge match using your own knights, again playing all mounted Gondor against your Iron Hills army. No, not Iron Hills, regular dwarves, wasn't it?
No, it was my Erebor list. Yeah. Whenever I've grudged you, it's never been successful. So I thought, grudge here, I've got a chance to use and smile. Surely now's my chance.
So this game was capture and control.
Yes.
And so fairly standard. You have the different little objective tokens in a rough cross. So you can't quite see it, but there is one near where Smaug is positioned. I think at the start of the game you put him there to at least try and tag one objective early.
Yeah, I basically sat him on that first objective. Obviously, capture and control is not a good objective or a good scenario for Smaug because I don't know if anyone who listening has ever played Smaug, but usually when you play him, wherever he starts, he tends to stay because your opponent will have more might than you, and they will just keep heroic moving and surrounding you until you can win a fight and kill them all. So even though he can fly 12, he very rarely gets a chance to do it because you kind of want to save his might for, winning crucial fights or,
inflicting damage.
Yeah.
I think you had one flame shot with him at the start, and that missed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I moved 6 inches, rolled and then spent a point at will to use fire and rolled a 1 or a 2 and decided not to might it.
Yeah.
I just wish, fire was a thrown weapon. If it was less strength, you could just do it as you charged in. It'd be a lot more effective rather than having to sacrifice half your movement and not charging for a 3-up. And
as viewers may have noticed, yes, all of my knights are roughly spaced 2 inches apart and try and limit the damage that any kind of flame attack could have done to me because.
Yeah, well, I think I targeted one of the heroes.
Yeah,
try and get rid of him. I must have targeted Boromir, trying to get rid of him. Because that 6 might and a banner is not nice.
No. Especially when the banner puts him up to fight 7.
Yes.
So that was pretty much deployment. Sam moved on to one objective and did a flame burst. Not flame burst, fire attack. So this was the next turn. I managed to get Faramir and a selection of knights in. Across the rest of the board, my other knights pretty much ran up and tagged the objectives. So I think by turn 2, turn 1, I'd pretty much taken all but one of the objectives.
Yeah, end of turn 1, you had 4 out of 5. I had 1. What worth noting that Smaug isn't in the top left. He is a very awkward model, and his wings overlap his base. So as soon as anyone gets anywhere near him, he comes off the base and he sits somewhere else. And then you play with the base for the rest of the game.
Well, I mean, I can appreciate that. It's a pretty expensive model, and you don't want like a spine on a wing to snap off because someone pushes their troll into the side of it or something.
Well, and Josh won't probably kill me for saying it, but on the way in, Josh was in charge, so I gave Josh a lift in. He very kindly allowed me to stay with him because I was driving down from Manchester. He was in charge of Smaug, and he had his tray of models on top, and one of Smaug's spines got stuck in the bottom of his foam and came off. Smaug had taken a bit of battle damage before he'd even started. I must admit, I've still not fixed him. It's a very awkwardly designed model. I mean, beautiful model, but awkward for gaming. I kind of wish they'd put him, up high flying or something a little bit easier to use regularly.
Just as a quick side note, because we are moving away from the battle bit, I think it's the reason the new map War Leader has tusks that tilt upwards.
Yes.
So you can actually do the same thing. You can actually get into base contact with it without damaging it. As you can see, I've got looking quite good here. I've got most of the objectives. Most of my knights are still quite healthy, and I'm in combat with Smaug. Now, I think I did a heroic strike this turn with Faramir.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure for however many turns it was, you pretty much called a heroic strike, and if needed, a heroic move. So you could get that charge on Smaug and be a high fight value.
Really did struggle to actually move. Slight apology, I think I've got some of the orders of pictures around. When I uploaded the pictures, I think they all got shuffled around a bit. So
that was turn 1. That was just before I took him off, I think.
So this one here is turn 3, I think. I've managed to get a knight in on that final objective. And I've managed to get some guys all around Smaug. The guys that you can see in the bottom of the screen went the long way around that section of woods, or that clipped up. And I've got Faramir up in combat as well as Boromir. The Citadel Guard were really valuable here because obviously they're immune to terror checks. Overall, my Gondor guys didn't do too badly. Thankfully, the army bonus is +1 courage anyway. So you
probably failed 1 or 2 a turn.
I think those guys at the back with the little tokens next to them are probably the guys who failed the courage checks for that. At this stage in the game, I have to admit, I was hopefully gunning for glory. I was maybe seeing if I could be a Smaug Slayer. I've done similar feats before in terms of when I was playing Josh Triffitt years ago at East Grinstead. I managed to kill a Mordor Troll and the Knight of Umbar in the same turn with heroic combat from Faramir and a heroic strike from Boromir.
Yeah.
Gondorian knights, whilst they don't look fantastic on paper, once you get them near that banner, once you get them on the charge with those lances, they really can level the score quite a bit.
Yeah.
Most of the combat stayed like this for the remaining turns because, frankly, you couldn't move because every time you tried to move, I'd call a heroic move with like Baragond or Faramir or Boromir.
Yeah.
Every time in the fight, I would heroic strike with Boromir because it's fight 7. He's only 2 points below Smaug, so has a reasonable chance of. Actually...
No, he's only 1. Smaug's only fight 8. She's only 1 below.
Sure. And I think in total, in the early game at least, you only lost. I only lost maybe 1 of the early combats. I don't think I took a lot of damage early on.
Yeah, I think you charged 1 guy in, so I barged to try and get in someone else, and I think I ended up losing the fight. And I think across about it must have been 6 or 7 combats she did. I think it must have been about 7 or 8 wounds. I don't remember Smaug getting down to,
Well, there is a little. Yeah, there you go, 14. So
14.
I certainly used 6 wounds to you there.
Yeah.
But as you can see, all of a sudden there's a lot less knights around this thing.
Yeah, I think
There was at least one fight where I rolled a 1 for Boromir's heroic strike, so only equal. And then that barge attack that Smaug can do is just devastating. Strength 9 all around on everyone surrounding him. So whilst it looked really good to begin with, it only takes one turn of Smaug winning in combat, and like if you mobbed him, to end up looking like this.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the game got quite dramatic because I was losing men like you wouldn't believe, and I had something like less than 8 knights left on the field, and Smaug was still going pretty strong on his 14 wounds.
Yeah.
Boromir got dismounted. Faramir and Baragon both got slain. The last handful of knights that I had left on the field were running around trying to secure any objective they could, while Smaug, finally able to move, was moving 12 inches a turn, tagging a fresh objective each time.
Yeah, trying to immobilize someone. Right? You're not getting You're not getting that objective. Right? I'll tag this one, and then I'll kill that guy, and I'll barge and tag that one.
You threw a couple of immobilizers out on Boromir, I think.
I definitely threw one the first turn. I was able to escape to stop him coming after me. I think how everything was positioned, even though I flew 12, the size of the base, I was still close enough for you to charge me. So I immobilized him so I could then get away.
But then after that, you realised by slowing my knights down, it would stop them capturing
objectives. Yeah.
So this was pretty much the last couple of turns. By this point, I am obviously broken. Sam's secured those. Boromir is unwounded with his 3 fate points. I think you can see there, I've still got most of the objectives, but I've only got like a few men left. I've got a Gondorian guy up the back. Mm-hmm. Sam has taken this objective, the centre and the closest objective to him. I've got 1, 2, 3 knights left on horse and 1 Gondorian left on foot, as well as Boromir. It was getting really close, man.
The game kept continuing, didn't it? We kept alternating who rolled. We kept rolling 3s and 4s. Obviously, the longer it goes on, the more it's in my favour.
Had those objectives, because it would have only taken 1 more objective and it would start to swing into Sam's favour.
Yeah.
I think this was pretty much the last shot from the game. Boromir managed to get back into combat with Smaug, purely to try and slow him down or stop him barging into that knight. Just on the off chance that I could roll higher. I think at this stage I was desperate to try and take the centre objective back and guy running towards the other one that you captured. Again, you only need one more turn after this, and I think it's your game.
Yes.
But that was the end of the game. That was the last turn. And so we had standing triumphant in front of Smaug, unwounded. But it was only the narrowest of margins that I won that by 1.
Yeah. Well, I think in the end, the final score was something like 8-3. And then we worked out, and had it gone on one more turn, you would have then won, I think it was 7-6. And then a second turn, and it would have swung in my favour. And I forget what it would have been, but yeah, it was very close. I was quite impressed that I nearly managed to win an objective game with Smaug, and there's my Boromir frustrating me till the end.
Yeah, I mean he was pretty good. He did roll a 1 a couple of times on heroic strike, but got away with it once. Didn't much the second time, and all of his might just went into strikes. Faramir dealt with the heroic moves. I love using Boromir, Captain of the White Tower. He's such a strong hero. The only thing that lets him down sometimes is that he is just so expensive. But he has improved this edition. His banner is a lot cheaper than it used to be.
And he doesn't suffer the -1 anymore.
Yeah. Did he always? I thought he was the one character who didn't. I thought Halbrand and Gambling were the ones who suffered before. But
you might be right. Oh, we've lost Chris.
Oh, Chris gone down.
I'm sure he'll come back.
Cool. Well, it is important for him to come back because we kind of need him for the next. Let's just send him a quick message. So overall, how did you find the? I guess playing me.
It was as fun as usual. It's always a good laugh when we play. We don't take it that seriously. Oh, there's Chris. So yeah, and obviously it was good fun to use Smaug. You kind of don't have to be too tactical with him. You know, to be like, all right, how many men are you charging into me this turn? Okay, right. Do I roll a 6? Yes, right. Do you roll a 6? Yeah, okay, you win. Right, roll to wounds. Yeah, it was good fun. I would have much preferred it to be, you know, a different scenario, maybe like Contest of Champions or Assassination, one where Smaug can come into his own. But
I mean,
welcome back, Chris.
You know, if I was going to play the game a lot more tactically, I guess what I could have done was thrown just enough knights at you to allow you to break me whilst keeping more in reserve. But I genuinely wanted to see how much damage I could do to him.
And yeah, I think that tends to be a lot of people's, I don't want to say downfall, but a lot of people see Smaug and they see the glory and they're like, yes, must kill Smaug. Yeah, and they send everything at him. And that's kind of what I want people to do, is because, as you say, I only need one fight to go in my favour, and it's a strength 9 hit on everything. And if I'm being a little more tactical with my barge, which you know, I wasn't really doing when I was playing, I was just knocking them back 3 inches. You know, you start knocking things down and it can very quickly, you know, turn on a heartbeat, and then Smaug can get free and he can, you know, go play the scenario. And also like that, you know, hobbits can't boop him on the nose and stun him down to 1 attack anymore, or it's certainly a lot harder. That makes Smaug a little less risky, because I think I played him in 3 or 4 tournaments and come up against like Saruman leading hobbits, and Saruman immobilizes him, and then the hobbits just bop him on the head, and that's no fun at all.
So game 1 down, a pretty good victory for me. Definitely close. Definitely could have lost very easily if the game hadn't ended where it did, or close thereabouts.
Yeah, if I'd won a fight a turn or 2 earlier, you know, I might have been able to get out sooner.
I mean, the scenario did definitely favour me, because Sam had 1 model and it's about holding different objectives. But he played well, and as soon as he had the break and had done enough damage to my army, he just went for it. So, and you know, to be honest, we've been mates for however long now. It was just a really good opportunity to catch up while we were playing as well.
Oh, yeah, it's got to be, what are we now, 2020? It's got to be at least, 10 years?
Something like that.
Something like that.
It's been a while. So,
long.
Chris, how did your first game go? Unfortunately, we've only got pictures of my games. There were a couple of Chris's, but mostly, I think I've taken 1 picture of your games later on when you were playing. So how did your first game go?
Sorry I didn't take pictures. I got really into this one. So I was playing against a guy called Stefan, who I'd not met before. Same as all my games, they're all against new players. And there's a bit of backstory to him. He started reading the rules for the game 2 days before.
Oh, okay. So, player.
He'd never played before. He ordered an army for a tournament in a couple of months, I think, that the EAHC were going to do. So obviously it didn't come in time for this event. So Josh wrote him a list and gave it to him and said, "Here, do what you can with this." So I had my Hunter Orcs first. So although I'd never used them before, this guy had never played a game before. So I feel like it was slightly in my favour.
Yeah.
Welcome to SPG. Here's Azog, one of the most powerful heroes in the game. And this is what he can do. So he had Galathrim. So he had Celeborn with all the trimmings, and Rumil, and a Galathrim captain on horse. So three pretty decent heroes. And then just all Galathrim, a couple of knights, and then an even mix of shield spears and bows.
Yeah.
I started deploying first, I believe, so I spread out quite thin to sort of go for the 3 center objectives, and then had Narzog hold back on one of my home ones. He spread quite thin as well to match, which is what I was hoping he'd do, because elves hate being in one-on-ones.
Especially against 2 attack Hunter Orcs.
Yeah. Strength 4, 2 attack Hunter Orcs, where the Glather have paid extra points for defense 6, and it means nothing.
Yeah.
One thing I learned from playing elves in the early editions was that their fight value means naff all when they're fighting just by themselves.
Yeah.
So being able to stretch them out was good. Having the speed as well with all my heroes mounted, having, I can't remember, 4 or 5 Hunter Orcs on wargs and 4 or 5 wargs as well. Meaning if I'm in danger at any point, anywhere, I kept Yasnig back as well. They could just charge things that were threatening me.
Wherever
and
you
then,
were weakening, you could send reinforcements to.
yeah, pretty much. So Narzog was on the back home objective, just pinging off anyone that was coming, threatening my objectives. Yasnig would go and charge anything that Narzog wasn't able to shoot. Azog was just ploughing through the middle of stuff.
Azog doing Azog things.
Yeah, I did cheat for 1 turn. I don't think it made a difference because he was just rolling 5s and 6s forever. I still thought he had a 2-handed mace because in the last edition he did with his burly, but he does not anymore. It is only the Azog's Legion version that has it.
Right.
But it didn't make a difference because Azog was just wounding everything on 6s, just doing his thing. Celeborn was trying every turn to try and immobilize him. He was successful once. Azog got trapped, surrounded, but then that's when Fimbul and Yasnig used their speed to come in and just take everything off of him.
I love Fimbul. I think he's one of my favourite evil characters.
Yeah, and there was quite a lot of big blocky terrain around as well, and trees and everything. So they would be able to hide from the Galathram bows and be completely out of line of sight. But then the next turn still around a charge because they don't need to be able to see.
Line of sight to charge, yeah. Oh man, I love Hunter Orcs so much.
Yeah,
I might have to collect them again.
Yeah, it was really powerful in that game because he was new. He was like, oh, I thought, and because I explained to him when I was moving there, I was like, I'm putting them here. You can't see them, but I can still charge you next turn. But then obviously because he's brand new, he'd forget that. And then
that's the thing.
Damn it! That.
Yeah.
I think it catches most people by surprise. They forget that little special rule that they don't, because for some reason they can see through balls.
Yeah.
It's a bit like the Galathram Knights are move 12.
Yes.
But it's also quite a commonly forgotten thing that you just see a guy on horseback see move 12.
I forgot that. I think he was moving 10 everywhere. I didn't notice. Yeah. He did make a desperate attempt for the captain to go for the centre objective and my home objective, but Narzog sniped his horse off.
Because Narzog is amazing.
Yeah, used his special rule on top of it as well. Made sure that horse was gone. And then Yasnig basically picked up the pieces of what was left on the floor with his lance. Because he's got a heroic strike as well. Azog did get through to Celeborn through 2 ranks of elves and then just battered him down in 1 turn. And then he went after Rumil, and essentially I had probably 6 or 7 orcs on around every single objective, and did end up tabling him in the end.
Oh dear, you're a mean man.
Yeah, I mean the Hunter Orcs, when they lose the fight they die, but I just had so many dice to win the fight.
Yeah, doesn't matter if elves are fight 5 if they're only throwing 1 dice at it.
Yeah. I literally charged with 1 Hunter Orc on Warg and 1 other dude on foot. That's 4 attacks, and on the floor it's 8 at strength 4. That dead every time.
I mean, I've only played Hunter Orcs a couple of times, I think. Sam has actually beaten me with them. This was a long time ago at Mansfield. His Hunter Orcs versus my Isengard. Same thing. It's like you were saying, the extra defense gets you nothing because they're strength 4. I think I made mistakes in that game anyway. But what did surprise me was just the sheer amount of hitting power these Hunter Orcs have. Hitting them back is quite funny if you're strength 4 as well, because
you wouldn't have 4s. Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I don't want to throw the word overpowered around on them. I just think you desperately do need to get them to break and to start getting their courage into play, and you have to try and get as many wins on them as you can.
Yeah, I think the way to deal with Hunter Orcs is, as many people did to me over the years was hit them with shooting. Elf
Yeah.
shooting, wounds them on 5s. Well, any shooting will wound them on 5s. Crossbows on 4s. Magic, especially in the old edition, really hurt them, not having any access to magic or any sort of magical defense. And also, like at mid, they're slightly better now, but it tends to be at the 700 point mid range. It was almost too low to take Azog and Bolg, but not, you couldn't rely on the 3 hunters, as I used to call them, to win you a game at 700 points. But I think Chris's list found a nice balance.
I did debate between Azog and Bolg, but I went for Azog just for more. I wanted to have more fun than, I think competitively I'll probably go Bolg for that defense 7 plus 1 to wound.
But I think Azog 6 might can't be sniffed at. I think as we saw in mine and Kieran's first game, having 6 might on one model is bonkers, and you can wound heroes on 3s, which will mitigate the +1 that Bolg gets.
So a convincing win for Chris.
Yeah, 12 now. So good start.
Were you straight to top table on that, or?
Yeah, I think I was the only one, maybe one other person who got the full 12-0.
Yeah.
Game 1, I think.
And this is where Josh's spreadsheet decided not to work. We'd played around with it the night before, and it all seemed to be working fine. And then we went to press all the buttons, and it just didn't do it. So Q, I think we took an early lunch break, and I sat there with a pencil and a piece of paper and worked out who was playing who, good and evil. I think it took me about 3 goes to get it right. But yeah, we got there in the end.
So moving on to the next game. So going back to the pictures, my next game was up against a guy called Danny. Oh, sorry, this is a quick shot of Chris's army on table 1.
Yeah.
Is that your army or your opponent's? I can't. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see Chris's army on there.
Do you want to do yours, or do you want to come back to it?
I can do mine.
Yeah, cool. Go for it.
While I'm limbered up. So what was this scenario? Whole ground, wasn't it?
Yeah, the second one was whole ground.
So I had my Thranduril's Halls, which you obviously saw earlier, and I was playing against James Richardson, who, because the club paid for all this terrain, he offered to paint it up, and it was sensational. It looked awesome. I don't think the pictures quite do it justice. He made the little smoking thing in the middle, which was our center point, with a little tea light in it, which was a very cool effect.
That's cool.
But this board was very awkward for hold ground, as you can see by the position of the armies there.
Yeah, lots of walls and big bits to kind of fight around. Negotiate.
So this was probably like a couple of turns in as well. You can see nothing's going anywhere near to the middle because it just couldn't. He had a fairly elite Isengard. So he had Lurtz as his leader. He had Vrashku and Ugluk. So in terms of heroes, mine was stronger, so I was happy with that. But he had a lot of models. He had 12 crossbows, a handful of berserkers, plenty of shields, plenty of pikes. So a nice even split of stuff. Pretty strong. So I rolled first. I went to go for priority first. I went to roll for Leggy first. This is what I was worried about because I only gave him 3 elves in his warband. Don't know why. Haven't played for a while. So get him on, then everything else can join him. He rolls a 1, so he doesn't turn up. Okay, right. Okay, let's go for the next biggest warband, which was Tariel, and she showed up in this bottom left, as you can see in this picture. And then Thranduril. Thranduril actually rolled a 2, and I debated for probably a good 5 minutes about whether to might it down, because if I leave it as it is, he puts me the other side of the board, and then Tariel and 6 Mirkwood Rangers are not going to have fun times. So in the end, I did go for 2 might to have him show up with Tariel, because it was already going bad enough in the first couple of rolls. I was like, just get him on. He can still do plenty of damage with 1 might. He's got his magic there, make him more terrifying.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. So I came on there. All of his army rolled well. To start with, the first 3 rolls. So I think Ugluk. He also had a shaman as well. He had a shaman and 6 dudes with him. Ugluk and Lurtz came up on the bottom behind me to try and sort of push me upwards, where you can possibly see. I'm pointing. You can't see me pointing. Up on the top left, there's a couple of crossbows there.
Yeah, we can see them.
Vrashku and his crossbows came on there. So basically, he was forcing me out towards the middle and into the open to either be shot or up towards the crossbows or back on myself, back towards his army. So I was pretty much between a rock and a hard place. And then he did roll, or second to last, penultimately, he rolled his shaman, which up in the far top right, you can see a couple of pikes popping up.
That's it.
Yeah, that's where the shaman ended up, which he left. He didn't use might on it because he wanted it to. I think he channeled his fury. Wanted it to do that, and also it meant if I'm pinned in down there, that shaman and those 6 dudes can just go and walk into the middle unopposed. So I think that's why he was quite happy they're up there. We pretty much didn't move from this corner between those 2 fence posts and that first building in the bottom left. I was pinned in trying to avoid those crossbow fire, but because everything was so tight knit, my aura of dismay affected everything, which he got very unlucky with a lot of his courage tests. Even the berserkers were failing to get in.
Oh. Ouch.
There was probably 2, possibly at the point there was even 3 in a row where he got double 1s on his berserkers. They just weren't going in. And like Lurtz had already gone in by himself into Thranduril, and no one followed him. And he's like, okay, this is a problem. Ariel whiffed a couple of combats. She went for some heroic combats because she loves fighting berserkers. She charges into 2. She gets her 4 attacks. She's going to take them out. And wanted to go into 2 more, take 2 more out. Then all of a sudden, I've got like a hole to go through. She failed 2 heroic combats in a row, 2 turns in a row. But Thranduril was winning fights against Lurtz, and eventually, combined with Tariel, when she decided to pull her weight, took Lurtz down. So that was me in the lead in the early rounds, despite being penned in that corner. Then, what was it? The Nature's Wrath happened. Although it's only 3 inches, when everything's pushed into that small quarters, a lot of stuff is going down. So a lot of stuff on the floor, which then meant it made a lot of gaps. So I was able to escape with Thranduril up towards that watchtower and put pressure on those crossbows, because they'd moved up that turn, so I know I couldn't get shot. So he was running towards those and perhaps make a hole towards the middle. I managed to break a few elves free as well. So my elves, and this is where also the +1 to wound came in really handy, because everything was just so pushed close together. Pretty much everything was benefiting from it. Same as the banner.
So it was all crushed down in this corner, yeah?
Yeah. Just nearer to the house on the inside with the fences. It was all crushed in there.
So this little area.
Yeah, so he sort of swung round to the very bottom left, so I couldn't back out that way. And also between those 2 fences towards the bottom right. So he went through those 2 gaps and basically pushed me in. But yeah, the banner was in range of everything. The terror bubble, the +1 to wound. I charge into 2 Uruks with the Murked Rangers. So they get 2 attacks, and then give them a spear support with a glaive. So I'd have 3 attack fighting elves. It all worked quite nicely together with the +1 to wound from the spear support as well. Yeah, it was pretty good. And then what was it? Turn 5, I think. Legolas finally decided to show up.
Wow.
Which actually turned out to be brilliant for me, because obviously the shaman and his warband were now on the centre point. So Leggy showed up on the far right of the picture and basically walked with his 3 archers, half a turn, shooting out that shaman warband. And then when he got there, Leggy charged into 2, killed them both. Heroic combated into another 2, killed them both. Then it was just the shamans. Then all of a sudden I had 4 dudes to 1 in the middle.
Wow.
You'd almost say you planned it.
Almost.
Almost.
I think he knew what he was doing all along. He wasn't just sorting out his hair.
Yeah.
And was just late. It was a master plan. So we're getting towards the break. He was broken. I think somehow he'd only killed 2 of my models.
Actually, I think I remember coming over to this game after my game finished, and I was like, how's it going? Obviously, there wasn't much in the centre, and you was like, yeah, it's going all right. I've only lost 2 models, and it was just like an hour in, or an hour and a half in, and I'm like, what?
Even if he was able to win against the Murkwood Rangers, he'd then roll 3s to wound them.
That's so frustrating.
They just were, even with the Berserkers, it just wasn't his game for that respect. And so we're getting towards breaking, so he moved his crossbows towards the middle, so then he'd suddenly have like 12 towards there. But like I say, Thranduril had already made his way up there, and he was carving through Vrashku crossbows. And I think it finished with him having 5 in the middle to my 4. However, I had broken him and killed Lurtz, his leader.
Nice.
So I think I got 2 points for the breaking without breaking, 3 for the leader, or 2 for the leader and 3 without breaking, that way around. So I got 5. And he got more than me in the middle, which was worth...
I think it's 3. I think it's 3, 5, 7.
Yeah.
Memory serves me right for whole grounds.
I feel like he also wounded Thranduril and got a VP that way, because I'm pretty sure it finished 5-4 to me.
Right. Close game then.
Yeah, very, very, very close. I do feel really bad that all the important things went my way. Like, he'd win all the roll-offs in terms of like priority and heroic moves. He'd be winning plenty of the fights for sure, but then just didn't wound anything. So when the dice really mattered, it went my way.
Well, sometimes you need a bit of luck, don't you?
Yeah. And because I had so few models, he had probably a third more than me. Like, if he had started killing that 1, 2, 3 every turn, it would very quickly.
Yeah, he would have.
And it just didn't break.
Yeah, he never got that snowball effect on your army where he was able to kill a couple, then he could gang up on a few more and kill a couple more, and
yeah. It went well in the end. Yeah, once the heroes started putting their weight and Leggy's master plan came into effect.
That master plan that involved rolling 1s 4 turns in a row.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
A 2 or something, whatever, to show up over there or whatever, and then but it was the heroes that made the difference, like having the big weighty Thranduril with Tariel, a mid-level price, like the same price as Lurtz, but she is way more deadly than he is, I think, still. I think in a 1-on-1 she's more likely to kill him than he is her, given she has the Elven Blades, the higher fight value.
Yeah.
All our other bonuses. So
does she have Elven Blades now?
Yeah, they all have Elven made daggers.
Right. So I know when she first came out, they were just knives, and she didn't benefit from that Elven Blade special rule.
Yeah, Elven made daggers now, which
awesome. That makes her much more deadly. Even
the regular troops with like the Elven Blades and the Murkwood Rangers, the Elven made daggers, because they were fighting like Ugluk and Lurtz. They were beating them in.
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah, it's good that.
Yeah, I was quite impressed with this list. I was like, I might be onto something here, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to use them again in the future.
Awesome.
Yeah, 5-4 win.
If we roll on to my next game, because it was a similar kind of thing in terms of me using Isengard and up against elves. But this time, the elves were in the form of Danny's Rivendell Knights. So we're a bit far out in this picture. I'll try and zoom in for you. This is pretty much the first shot after deployment. I had to appear first. Did I appear first? Yes. And my deployment was big warband with 1 captain, not my leader, and big warband with my shaman. Unfortunately, the last role I'd left was the leader. I normally do this because it tends to be the more important one. and so you tend to want to have a good idea of where the rest of your warbands have arrived before you put him down. That's my theory on it anyway. In this one, it backfired as he rolled a 2. Was it a 2? Yeah, because if it had been a 3, I'd have boosted it with a might point to get him over here with the rest of my forces. As it was, I went with the 3. Sorry, went with the 2. Didn't see a point boosting it to a 3 because your opponent still gets to choose. And on a 1, you have to take the gamble again next turn. I guess I could have spent most of his might to just put him into the right position, and maybe that would have been a better call. But I went with this. So they got forced up into this corner here, where the rest of my line ended up in the centre of the board here. Now, my opponent had one unlucky roll, and that was his own leader, who I put down in this corner. Because his army is all mounted, really didn't make that much difference. Wherever I chose to put them, they would have had the speed to catch up with each other before I could have done that much about it. I figured by putting here, it at least kind of made it a bit difficult for him to choose where to go. So his army was Elrond, the Elf Twins, and Lindir, all leading as many Rivendell Knights as he had points left for, I assume.
Not many, I don't think, with those four heroes.
I think he may have had about a dozen. That's about as many as I can see in the picture, anyway.
193. Yeah, about a dozen.
So early turns pretty much went with my force down here in the centre, pushing from the centre of the board. Centre of the board edge, pushing towards the actual centre of the board where the objective is. This warband over here, I pretty much wrote off, even though it had my leader in it and one of my 2 banners. I was kind of thinking they're not going to be able to move anywhere near that centre objective unless the Rivendell Knights choose to just shoot at them, which is an option, but I don't think it's the best option to take in this circumstance, because having had the boon of splitting up the army, you then want to focus on using your smaller elite army to take on a bit of it at a time rather than trying to take on the whole thing at once. So I pushed this warband to this cottage here in the hope of at least that's one flank protected. If they can hold like a small little block here, it doesn't matter if they move again, as long as they inflict some damage whilst they're there. That was pretty much all I anticipated them being able to do.
That's upside down.
There we go. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. As you can see, this is a very professional operation, and that's pretty much exactly just the same picture again, because I totally took the time to edit out any duplicates. Moving on. There we go, something's happened here. So this was turn 1. These crossbows are not here waiting to snipe Elrond. They are unfortunately casualties. I left a couple of crossbows to try and shoot Elrond and his friends, and they may have been up from up here. I think I left 2 crossbows up here. Danny left all 4 of these Rivendell Knights at the back here, so they stayed still. He shot first, killed both my crossbows, so I had no shots. So that went well. He moved the Elven Twins up full distance with the rest of his warband here, moving half as well. And Elrond's gunning. So basically, you can see his entire army is trying to take out this one warband and then turn to take on the rest of what I've got. So if you like, he's sacrificed the centre, but in the hope of capturing it later by taking out as much of my force as he can in bits before having to take on the rest.
Yeah.
My Shaman moved up and cast Regular Fury. Ordinarily in this scenario, I'd have gone for a channel because it's about having as many men as possible still alive, but being down 1 hero, I kind of thought I've only got 3 might points left and might need a heroic move, and I'm up against cavalry. You need to keep putting pressure on their movements. So it was a trade-off of durability between being able to get the jump on the Elven Knights. Next shot. Again, I'm not sure if this is entirely in sequence, but as you can see, we've jumped ahead a bit. The entire warband here died, and I don't think I killed a single elf in response.
Oh dear.
It did not go well, and weirdly, the only person who managed to survive, again, I'm not sure how well you can see him, was the leader, who managed to use 6 inches out of the back and then get charged by Elrond.
There's no getting away from the Lord of the West. Well, not actually
One of the good things was by this point, I did finally have some crossbows in position to make shots, and I had crossbows here take out 2 elves over here. So even taking off 1 or 2 elves at a time, because he's got less than a dozen warriors, it does help, especially in a numbers game where I've still got 2/3 of my army still going strong.
Yeah.
Or roughly 2/3 anyway. So, Elrond managed to catch up with this guy. He also, it's worth noting, put out a Nature's Wrath up here. Tried to resist it and failed. But yeah, basically the Nature's Wrath really helped protect those elves from some early casualties. None of my pikes really did much. I think I had one turn where he Nature's Wrath everyone down, and the pikes could stand up because they weren't engaged, but just on their own it wasn't enough to actually do much damage. Moving on. Oh yeah, so the photos are unfortunately in slight disarray. This was an earlier turn where I think this elf on the end may have died to these berserkers, but that was the one casualty, and the rest of the warband just fell beneath this tidal wave of Rivendell Knight's arm. So last few turns of the game, my central forces are fighting in front of the objective. Quite a common thing you see new players do is fighting on the objective. If you can, put your men in front of it, because then the enemy doesn't just have to get into range; they have to push you, back off of it, so back onto and then off of it.
Yes, stand about 5 inches, 5-6 inches away from the objective, and then if you're winning, you're pushing them out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm as far away from it as I'd like to be. He's still managing to push into it, but
you look about 3 or 4 inches off it there, just judging by base size.
So the miraculous thing is, at the back here, that is still the leader.
Right, he's still alive.
Because he's the specialist Legendary Legion leader with the extra attack and the extra wound. Even though I think he did lose one of those wounds throughout the course of the game, he was just left with 3 attacks and a shield. So even fighting Elrond on 4, I'm rolling 6 dice against 3.
Yeah.
And even with Master of the West, I think he managed to get back onto his feet. Down below, I've got my banner. The reason I took 2 in this list was A, I had them painted, but B, I thought with all the numbers I've got, having an extra dice roll in 2 places at once could be pretty handy. And I really do not lament that choice. Having the 2 banners was pretty golden. The Berserkers are still going strong, and I've got my Uruk-hai captain with axe facing off against one of the Elf Twins here.
Yeah.
Up until this point, I was still pretty apprehensive. At the point that these models all charged, I was thinking, could still do a lot of damage, might be able to swing it in the last couple of turns. It was the last turn of the game, really, where I finally won the charge, the priority, and the subsequent heroic move off. So I was going first, he didn't get any extra attacks. This captain killed one of the elf twins in a heroic combat, and then swung into another elf and killed that one too. The 3 berserkers up here, I think between them, they actually managed to kill the second elf twin. So in one turn, he lost both elf twins. Lindir was dragged screaming from the saddle. And Elrond was still alive, unhurt. He is one of the most durable heroes in the game. Even if you do wound him, he can renew himself. So you still get a single VP for inflicting that wound, but actually trying to kill him can be pretty damn difficult.
Yeah, and he can reroll his fate points as well.
And miraculously, my leader still on the field for some strange reason. I don't know how he managed it. So in the final turns of the game, it was a pretty convincing victory to me. I had multiple men on the objective, and he may have had like 1 elf at the most. I may have even been successful enough in pushing him back out of range. Mm-hmm. Either way, it was a pretty good game for me. Managed to win quite convincingly in spite of losing most of my first warband. If I played it again, the only difference I'd have maybe made would have been to spend that extra might point early on and maybe just try and push everyone up to the centre and then start firing back with crossbows. But it is also quite daunting having to walk into the face of, like, if you just let the elves do nothing else, they will just shoot you.
Yeah, they'll kite around and make your life hell.
And again, sometimes that can work. The only thing I'd be maybe worried about with this list versus my list is, do you have enough bow shots to do that? Mm-hmm. Like, if you were playing till infinity, absolutely, you'd be able to do it eventually. But it's the thing of, under timed conditions, you can't afford to stay back forever, and you do need to commit at some stage to try and do as much damage as possible.
Yeah.
So if you like, maybe that warband that ended up strung out was also bait for me, in terms of the longer he spends trying to kill that, the harder it is to take the center, or like the less time he's got to do it. But
Yeah.
having said that, whichever way, it kind of worked out. Big shout out to my opponent Danny as well. I've played him twice now. The time before was when I played him in Contest of Champions at the Battle of Barad-dûr. But just a really nice guy, really sporting player, really good attitude towards playing. Played this game really well. I'm not sure he could have done much more beyond maybe try and have a few more heroic combats at different times, maybe try and time the Nature's Wrath just a little bit better, and maybe spread out his elves so that all of his warbands were a bit more even. Because I think for some reason he had most of his warriors with Lindir. I think the argument for that was if Lindir ends up in this game, if he ends up on his own, and it's kind of like, I think maybe the idea was to protect him. But I think what you should do is just kind of consider if Lindir ends up on his own, just write him off, because Elrond is strong enough without him. And then just make sure that the rest of your knights are protected, because that's where your real damage is going to be, is having those 12 knights charge in with their lances.
Yeah.
So yeah, really enjoyed that game. Could have swung at one point, I think, but just this list with the numbers. One thing I haven't mentioned is the Legion for the attackers at Helm's Deep lets you take an extra 6 warriors in every warband. So
pretty handy.
Yeah, even the shaman, who can normally only take 6 warriors, could leave 12 men.
Nice.
That's just so tasty for giving him a little bodyguard.
Yeah.
Obviously, having a shaman, I think, is still incredibly valuable for Uruk-hai. I get that they only run away on 66% casualties now, but it's just being able to pass things like terror checks that can slow you down. Having that fury to shrug off some wounds in certain games that you need. So yeah, I'm really happy with this one. Feel like it was a great game, and feel like I played well enough, and that my opponent did everything he could as well. Onto your game, Sam. How did that go?
Yeah, so I played Mr. Larry Miller with his 3-model Sauron force. Here you go, using the powers of modern technology. So I was quite. I wasn't looking forward to hold ground with my Grey Company, because I've only got, as you can see there, not many models. But then when I found out I was playing Larry, who had less models, and again, playing a very good friend, known Larry, quite a long time. I don't think I've ever. I think this was one. I think I can count on my hand the amount of times I've played Larry, but yeah, he comes up with lots of shenanigans, lots of interesting combos that you wouldn't usually think of. So his list was Sauron.
Usually to himself.
Pardon?
Usually to hurt himself.
Well, yeah. More often than not, it's to his detriment. So he had Sauron with the ring, a Mordor troll, who I believe his name was Hank, and he had the Witch King. I think it was 323. I think he had the crown as well. My memory fails me. And obviously I had my Grey Company. One of the perks of Grey Company is they count as a single warband no matter how many models you have. So they all deploy together. I can't remember what I rolled. I think whatever it was, I just let it go, because they come on wherever, and against 3 models it doesn't really make much difference. Leggy hung back and was quite successful in shooting Hank the troll. Did a couple of wounds, and he also managed to do a couple of wounds on the Witch King, burning those fate points before Sauron and the Witch King could bring their magic to bear. I think at some point one of the twins was set on fire by Sauron. I think it was one of the first turns of combat, and I just let him. He just ran around on fire. There was a point in the game where he died to the ongoing fire, and it brought up quite an interesting thing of who does the other twin have to kill, because nobody did it. Obviously, Sauron originally set him on fire, but he didn't die to that hit. He died like 15 turns later to a fire attack. So I think we rolled for it, and it was decided that the other twin didn't go nuts, or he went nuts, but not anyone in particular.
Is that a similar sort of question to, like, say, if you needed BPs for inflicting that wound, like in assassination or something, would you get that if the fire?
Well, yeah, but honestly, I'm not sure. And I think whenever there's a rules question on the GBHL, Larry will generally pop up, and between me and him, we can figure it out. So it's probably one that we'll have to email over to the rules team, because you could kind of see both points for it. Yeah, Sauron did it, but he's been on fire for 15 turns. It's still Sauron who's inflicting the wounds. But we rolled for it to keep the game moving. Not that it was going at a slow pace. Obviously, with 10 models combined, it was a very quick game. We've probably done about 30 turns. I remember at one point Gimli heroic combated the troll, moved into the Witch King, which was quite nice. Obviously, the troll was left on a wound, so Gimli killed him. And then towards the end game, Gimli actually threw his axe into the Witch King and killed him with his thrown axe, and then charged into Sauron, which then began, almost a Smaug-like, combat phase where you just constantly charge everything in. Aragorn does his free heroic strike, and then it's how many 2+s can Larry roll, which turned out to be quite a lot. I think in the first turn of combat that I won, I got Sauron down to a wound with Aragorn, obviously, Thranduril on a 4+. And then, the game just went on for ages with Larry. Obviously, he'd roll a 1, he'd might it up. And I think we had about 40 minutes left when he finally rolled that 6th one, and Sauron died. I think I actually got a photo of it. Let me see how good this will come out. And it was the twin.
Sorry, there 2 seconds, Sam. I just need to minimise that one there.
Oh yeah, I'm forgetting. You gotta have me on the screen. There we go. I don't know how well it will come out. It looks very blurry.
That's a Picasso, but I can just about tell that Sauron's on his side.
Sauron's dead, with everyone surrounding him. Halbrad was MVP, having that banner and 6-inch fearless. Just meant I could charge Sauron, without taking courage tests, because at the game, Larry was draining Aragorn's courage to try and stop him going in. And I was like, all right, I'll let it go. All right, let it go. And then we both twigged like, hang on, isn't Halbrad's banner, make him fearless? And then Larry turned to trying to start, doing the same to Halbrad, trying to kill Halbrad. But by then I was in combat and it was too late.
I think the Grey Company list has gotten really good with, again, slight points adjustments, but mostly just some of the new things it can do in that Legion, having Andrew for free, having a fearless banner.
Well, they need it. Without that banner, they would sorely struggle. Especially now, it is all hero. And once they run out of might, they're just gonna die. So having that banner, in both of the games that I used the Grey Company in, came in really handy. And I don't know why you'd take Halbrad without the banner, to be honest. Ended up being a 12-0 win to me because I tabled Larry, but again, amazing game. Good fun fighting Larry. Will always be a laugh. That bumped me higher up the tables.
Cool. So we've all talked about our first 2 games now. I was on 2 victories, so was Chris, and you were on 1 win and 1 loss.
Yes, that is correct.
I think given we're about an hour and 15 minutes, we're going to stop that one there, and we will do the second part as a part 2.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed our sort of review of each of our games. Stay tuned for what happens in part 2 and how things went from there.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Have fun.
See you later, guys.
Yeah.